Hello ESL 40 and ESL 49, and welcome to our second day of gerunds and infinitives. I hope you guys had a great first class, and I hope you understand the rules behind both gerunds and infinitives. We are going to review them before we move on to a little bit of some trickier stuff. So let's go. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about gerunds and infinitives. Now, last class, we learned the rules behind both of these interesting verbs that act like nouns. So if we remember the first rule behind gerunds, and just as a reminder, gerunds are the ing form of a verb that is a verb, but it acts like a noun. So the first rule is subject equals gerund. So gerunds are common in the subject position. For example, shopping is my favorite hobby and working out has really improved my health. Our second example, our second rule is prepositions plus gerunds. This means that gerunds are very commonly found after prepositions. For example, she thought about calling him but decided she wouldn't. About is the preposition, calling is the gerund. Or they are planning on going to the party tonight. On is the, you guessed it, preposition, and going is the gerund. Our third rule for gerunds are verb plus gerund. And this you might find to be very similar as a third rule in infinitives. So this just means that there are some main verbs that are followed only by gerunds. So for example, he enjoys learning about gerunds. I hope you guys do as well. Enjoys is the main verb, learning is the gerund. My teacher suggested studying for the upcoming quiz. Suggested is the main verb and studying is the gerund. Okay, so hopefully we feel pretty good about this. Now let's move on to infinitives. There are also three rules for infinitives. The first one is that infinitives often follow adjectives, so adjective plus infinitive. For example, it is nice to meet you. Nice is the adjective, to meet is the infinitive. Or she mentioned that it was dangerous to stand near that machine. Dangerous is the adjective, to stand is the infinitive. Our second rule is noun plus gerund. This means that a gerund is found very commonly after a noun or a pronoun. For here, N represents nouns and pronouns. So we can see that we can say, you asked me to call you. Me is the pronoun, to call is the infinitive. Or the doctor advised Mark to eat more vegetables. Mark is the noun, to eat is the infinitive. And finally, we have our third rule, which is verb plus infinitive. This means that there are some main verbs that are only followed by infinitives. For example, they want to get their test back as soon as possible. Want is the, you guessed it, main verb, and to get is the infinitive. Or the students are planning to have a party this Friday. Are planning, sorry, this confused me for a quick second. Are planning is the present continuous, so that's the main verb, and to have is the infinitive. So we can see that we can change our main verbs conjugations to past, present, continuous, perfect, whatever, and they can all be followed by gerunds. And we went over this last time, but there is a list of common verbs followed by gerunds, and then common verbs that are followed by a gerund, and then common verbs that are followed by an infinitive, and then common verbs that are followed by both. And you'll see that this is a little bit of a note with no meaning change. Today, we are going to go through the verbs that are followed by both, but it really means that we have to pay attention because the meaning of the sentence changes. For these words here, begin, continue, hate, like, love, prefer, and start, there's no meaning change. It's just totally up to us if we want to say, I love swimming or I love to swim. It's totally up to us. But let's take a look at the main verbs who can be followed by both a gerund and infinitive, but whose meanings changes based on which one they are followed by. So this document is on Canvas for you as well. Let's zoom in a little bit. So this is gerunds and infinitives, meaning changes, verbs with meaning changes. So the first verb is try. Now I need to tell you guys that I know that this verb try is on the list, but to me, I think that whether you say to try to call her or tried calling her, they really sound the same. The meaning is very, very similar. So it might be confusing when I try to explain this because also it's very similar in meaning. So let's take a look. So try plus a gerund means you started doing something but stopped at some point, usually because it was too difficult. She tried learning French but gave it up after a few months. Try plus infinitive means you attempted something but didn't succeed. I tried to call you last night, but you never picked up your phone. So this is a little bit confusing because if I say I tried to complete the exam or I tried completing the exam, the meaning just is the same. It just it means I wasn't able to do this. However, the slight difference is that gerund means it was too difficult. So I could say, I tried completing the exam, but I hadn't studied, so I failed. Okay? If you wanted to say tried to complete the exam, but I couldn't because there was a fire alarm. That meaning it's not on me. I didn't do anything wrong here. Something else came in and happened so that I couldn't complete this exam. So try plus gerund means too difficult. I did not succeed. Try plus infinitive means I didn't succeed, but it's something outside of my control that prevented me from succeeding. Okay, we start off with a pretty tricky one. The second one is stop, and it's definitely more straightforward. So stop plus gerund means you quit doing something. He stopped smoking last week means he quit smoking. Or he stopped going to classes means he quit the classes. He stopped returning her calls. He quit calling her. He's no longer talking to her. But stop means infinitive, means you were doing something, you took a break, and then you were on your way somewhere. So even though he was behind in work, he stopped to smoke a cigarette. So he took a break. I stopped to buy milk on my way home. I went to the store before going home. So it means you were on your way somewhere and you stopped to do something else. So if I said I stopped smoking, it means I no longer smoke. I quit. If I said I stopped to smoke, it means I was doing something, but I wanted to have a cigarette, so I stopped what I wanted to do and I had a cigarette. Does that make sense? If you said, let's think of another one. I stopped doing my homework means I'm no longer participating, I quit my homework. Or if you said I stopped to do my homework means I stopped doing whatever I was doing so that I could finish my homework. How are we doing? Usually students look at me at this point and they're like, I don't understand. So if it's a little confusing, don't worry. We're just going to keep going. Then we're going to do some practice and hopefully you're feeling a little bit better about this. The next one is forget. Forget plus gerund means you have already done something, but you can't remember it. Okay? She didn't recognize him at all. She forgot meeting him last summer. It means that she forgot that she had met him before. Forget plus infinitive means you had the intention of doing something, but you didn't remember to do it. So you actually didn't do the action because you forgot. She forgot to meet her client for lunch, so she got an angry phone call from him. She had plans to do something, but she didn't follow through. So let's give another example. If I said, I forgot doing my homework, it means I've completed my homework. I just forgot that I had done that. I forgot to do my homework means I never completed it. I completely lost track of it. I did not do it. I forgot seeing that movie means, oh, I had watched this earlier, but I forgot that I watched it. I forgot to see that movie means, oh, it slipped my mind. I never saw the movie. Okay? The verb with remember is kind of similar. So remember plus gerund means you did something in the past and you can remember doing it. This is usually used when you're surprised that you can recall that far back. It's also used when you're reminiscing with friends. Reminiscing means to remember something in a fond way. So I remember falling down the stairs when I was 4 years old. I don't think you would reminisce about that, but you just remember it. It means I can remember this action happening in the past. Or we remembered performing in the school concert when we were in elementary school. What great memories. I can remember doing that. Remember plus infinitive means you had the intention of doing something and you remembered to do it. Okay, so this is the opposite of forget plus infinitive. This means you had the intention of doing something, but you forgot. This means you had the intention of doing something and you remembered. For example, my husband was so happy that I remembered to pay the bills on time this month. It means you wanted to remember something and you did it. Okay, so I could say, oh, I remember spending time with my family on family vacations growing up. That's using the gerunds because I'm reminiscing, I'm thinking about a memory, I'm thinking about when I was younger, okay? Remember plus gerund. Remember plus infinitive would be like, I remembered to let my dogs out so they did not have any accidents on the carpet. That means I wanted to do something, which was let the dogs out, and I remembered to do it, and I'm happy about it. Or I could say, I remembered to submit my final grades at the end of the semester. That means that I knew I needed to submit my final grades and I did it. Okay? Regret. Now, this is our last one, and it is actually, I think, a little bit more of a straightforward one. Regret plus gerunds means you did something that you wish you hadn't, okay? I regretted telling him my secret because he told everyone at my school. I wish I hadn't told him my secret. Regret plus infinitive is only used in formal cases and it means you're sorry. So we regret to tell you that your application was not accepted. This means we're sorry to have to tell you this. So I could say, I regret eating the entire pizza last night. I would not say, I regret to eat. I regret eating the entire pizza means, oof, I wish I had not done that. And this is a true story, you guys. I ate so much pizza last night. Regret plus infinitive means, oh, I regret to inform you, or I regret to tell you, or I regret to show you means I'm so sorry I have to tell you something, or so sorry I have to show you something. I regret to show you that I regret to show you, but I broke your vase. Or I regret to tell you that your son was acting up in school. I regret to tell you, but you were not chosen for the job. That means I'm sorry. And it's just very formal. All right. So hopefully we understand the difference in meanings for these 5 words. As I said, try is a little bit of a funny one. I think that try's meanings are very similar. But let's look down at the practice. So I would like you guys to pause this video and I would like you to complete this practice. There are 10 sentences. This practice is on Canvas. This document is on Canvas. So if you need to see this a little bit more clearly, jump on Canvas and go look it up. Otherwise, take out a piece of paper, a pen, and a pencil, and please complete the correct usage. So is it, we regret telling you that we are not hiring at this time? Or is it, we regret to tell you that we are not hiring at this time? Are these people feeling upset that they did something that they wish they hadn't? Or are they saying sorry? So what I would like you guys to do is to go through these and either choose an infinitive or a gerund to complete the sentence. When we're done, and please do all of them, we are going to go over the answers. Okay, so pause this video and do this work, and when you're all set, we'll continue. Okay, so it sounds like you guys, doesn't sound like I'm just pretending you're here. It sounds like you guys are completely done. So we are going to go over the answers. If you're not completely done, pause this video and finish up, okay? All right, so let's go through this. Our first sentence is, we regret, and the answer is to tell you that we are not hiring at this time. We are using the infinitive because the person speaking felt sorry about this, and it is a formal situation because of the hiring. We know that we speak in formal language when we are trying to get a job. The person did not do something that they wish they hadn't. That's why we are not using the gerund. For our second sentence, I'm halfway through this book, but I suddenly remember reading it last summer. So we use the gerund here because the person speaking about reading the book remembers that they've done it, and it's a past memory. The person speaking did not have the intention of doing something and then remembered to do it. This person is kind of reminiscing, right? I'm halfway through this book, but I suddenly remember reading it last summer. Has this ever happened to you guys where you're watching a movie or you're halfway through a book and you go, huh, I think I've already read this, or I think I've already watched this. Yeah, so that's why we're using the gerund here. The third one is, my brother tried playing hockey, but he quit after 2 weeks. Now, as I said, try is kind of a weird one. So the answer here is playing, which is a gerund. And it's kind of hard because we don't really have a reason for why he quit, right? So we are assuming that it was because it was too difficult. Yep. So if you put, my brother tried to play hockey, but he quit after 2 weeks, honestly, I think that that's fine. Okay, so both are pretty fine here because it's not a great sentence. All right, so our next sentence, she stopped to get a coffee on her way back to work. She was stopping on her way somewhere. She was going somewhere from work, probably home, but she stopped to get a coffee. She did not quit doing anything. She did not quit drinking coffee. That's why we have our infinitive. Our next one, my father always said I danced around the house when I was little, but I forget doing it. We are using the gerund because the person speaking has already danced around the house, but they just can't remember doing it. We do not use the infinitive because the person speaking did not have the intention of doing it and didn't remember to do it. So it's not like the person said, I was planning to dance later, but I forgot to dance. Okay, that's not what we're looking for. This person is thinking about something that happened in the past, but they just can't remember. I feel like I'm very dark. There we go. All right, my next sentence. My friend tried to go bungee jumping, but she was too scared to even go near the platform. Again, try is kind of a tricky one. This means the friend attempted to go bungee jumping but was unsuccessful. It was not too difficult, but I feel like it kind of falls under the category of being difficult because she was scared. But here it's really meaning that she didn't try to do it. It's not like she got halfway through bungee jumping and said, nope, I'm not doing it anymore, because you can't do that bungee jumping. Once you jump off, you can't stop it. So that's why they're going through for the infinitive. We would use a gerund if the person had tried, but it was too hard. Like if she was actually able to jump and then say, I can't do this. Again, this one was a tricky one. All right, how about this one? When are you going to stop biting your nails? The person speaking is asking the other person when they will quit it, okay? Biting is ing gerund because they are looking to quit biting the nails. The person's not asking the other person to stop somewhere and take a break to bite their nails. Okay, I'm glad I remembered to submit my college applications on time. So we're using the infinitive because the person had the intention of submitting the college applications and they remembered doing it. They remembered to do it. The person speaking did not do something in the past and now is remembering it. The person's not talking about when they were in high school and they're reminiscing about it. The person just said, hey, this was on my checklist to do, so that's why I'm using the infinitive. Okay. Our next sentence, he regrets calling his ex-girlfriend 5 times last night. We're using the gerund calling because this person is feeling bad about doing something. He wishes that he hadn't done it. He is not saying sorry in a formal situation. Okay, next sentence. I can't believe I forgot to turn off the lights before I went on vacation. We're using the infinitive because the speaker had the intention of turning off the lights, but they just didn't remember to do it. The speaker did not already turn off the lights. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. The person had the intention to do it, but didn't remember to do it. Okay, so we are going to skip this challenge game. We're just going to go into the main verb practice. I just want to remind you guys what main verbs are. So we have our subject over here, which is Maria and Alex. We have our main verbs, which is avoided and agreed. And then we have a gerund or an infinitive. So we have this first sentence. Maria avoided going to work because she didn't want to see her boss. Avoided is always followed by a gerund. That's why we have to put gerund. Alex agreed to bring a delicious treat to the next class. Agreed is always followed by an infinitive. That's why we have an infinitive here. So just as a reminder, when I say main verbs, I'm talking about the verbs that come after the subject and before the gerund or the infinitive, okay? The main verb is not the gerund and the infinitive. Okay. Now, okay. So now we're going to do a little bit of find the mistakes, okay? So remember that we are actually just here, we're just focusing on the verb plus gerund and then the verb plus infinitive. So these are the third rules for both of these categories. So what I would like you to do is pause the video, read through and decide which ones are correct and which ones are incorrect. Remember, some of them are correct. So let's see, last night I considered to go to a party with my friends. Does that make sense to you? If you don't know, just guess and look up your answers in a few minutes. But I considered to go to a party with my friends. Actually, the correct answer here is I considered going because after consider, we are followed by a gerund. So on my piece of paper, I would write going. And actually, you know what I would do is I would write consider going so that our brains start remembering this. Okay? So pause the video and then we can go through the correct answers when you're all set. Okay, so you've gone through all of them and let's go through the correct answers. So last night, I considered going, gerund, to a party with my friends. However, I knew I needed to study, infinitive, more for my quiz this week. I hate having, gerund, this is correct, so many quizzes. I tried to avoid studying, correct, for the infinitive. But I imagined to fail, incorrect. We're going to change that to a gerund. I imagined failing, and that motivated me to try harder. Although I dislike studying, this is correct, gerund, but remember, dislike can be followed by infinitive as well. So we could say, although I dislike to study, or although I dislike studying, both are fine. I know it will benefit me. I agreed to be, so we need to change that to an infinitive, in a group with friends, which was a great decision. They promised to keep, so we needed that TO, keep me up to date with information in class that I miss. The study group decided to go, this is correct, to the library last night, which made missing the party easier. So actually, let me just write the correct answers down here for you guys while we go through. So last night I considered going, put this in pink, oops, no. Going to a party with my friends. However, I knew I needed to study more for my quiz this week. I hate having, that's correct, so many quizzes. I tried to avoid, that's fine, studying, but I imagined failing. And that motivated me to try harder. Although I dislike studying, that's fine. We can also put to study. I know it will benefit me. I agreed to be, in a study group with friends, which was a great decision. They promised to keep. Don't forget the to as part of the infinitive, my friends. To keep me up to date with information in class that I miss. The study group decided to go, that's fine, to the library last night, which made missing the party easier. So these are the correct answers. So double check your work and write the correct answer if you got it wrong. Okay, now here are some, here's a little bit more practice. Find the mistakes. They're not all mistakes, and this is for all rules. Okay, so this is for all 6 rules, 3 for gerunds and 3 for infinitives. So pause this video and go through it and write the correct answers on a piece of paper, and we will review it in a few minutes. Okay, so we are going to go through this together. There we go, that's a little bit better. We're going to go through this together. So this weekend, I tried going to a museum. I tried going to a museum, but I couldn't because it was closed. Now remember, tried is a little bit of a weird one because of the meanings. Now, does tried going to a museum work? Yep, because as we know, let's go back to our try. It just means it was too difficult. So does try work here? Not really. But as I said before with try is one of those verbs that kind of, it's fine. But actually, this infinitive makes more sense because there's something that was outside of your control that happened that prevented you from doing it. So we're actually going to change this and said try to go to a museum, but I couldn't because it was closed. I thought about waiting until it opened. That's correct, right? Because we have our, let's put the rules next to it. Verb plus infinitive. Yeah, I like that. I thought about waiting. Good. Our rule here is prep plus gerund until it opened. But I didn't have the time. Visiting museums, good. This is correct because it's subject equals gerund. Is one of my hobbies, and I advise all of my students going. So students is a noun, so we know that we have to change this to go because we have noun plus infinitive. At least once a month. It is so nice exploring. So nice is an adjective, so we know we need to change this to explore because adjective plus infinitive is one of our rules. The different rooms and artifacts that museums have. I'm now planning on going. That's correct because this is another prep plus gerund. I'm going to the museum on Tuesday since it was closed this weekend. I will ask my friend coming with me. Right? We're going to change that because we have noun plus infinitive. Okay. So hopefully you guys got these correct. If you didn't, this is just a review, but go back and review our slides from the previous class. Okay, so this is it, you guys. Hopefully you did a great job and had some fun maybe. I hope this is all clicking and making sense. Next week we are going to have a little quiz on this, just kind of like we did for the nouns, and we're going to have our project. So just continue to review this, continue to practice this. I recommend while you're reading in English to look for these patterns that you see and let me know if you have any questions. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, thank you.